How to save 500 to 1,000 hours per year and your sanity in under 2 weeks. Well, in the next 15 minutes, I am going to focus on what is the minimum effective dose for your time management, which is going to yield your time and mental energy savings that provides the actual maximum result. Like, what is the 90-10 rule? What is the 10% of time management, efficiency, and productivity basics that actually yields 90% of the results, right? So when we get into power, like power equals work divided by time, right? And what is the things that we could spend our minimum time effort on that is going to yield the biggest amount of time and mental energy savings so that you can be the most powerful person ever, whether if you're the business owner or one of the employees? Well, why should you listen to me in this? Once I learned this stuff, I started my first company when I was at 22. And once we grew really fast and I started to be owned by the companies and how much business we were doing, and we really started to get buried in the busyness of the business. Once I learned this stuff, which was crazy easy in under 2 to 4 weeks, that is when my time in office went down 90%. I was able to move to California and the beach and run multiple companies. The amount of employee cost savings freed up like 25 to 50%. And we also set a record for top productivity by employee. We were in the top 200 in the industry in the entire world for over 13 years. But most importantly, it was about the time freedom. I started to get at least 3 to 6 months off every year. And this is also for the team. When you apply this to a business, it's just not the owner freeing up a lot of time and mental energy so they can focus on what matters most, whether it's working on the business or, more importantly, being out of the business, doing what you love with the people that you love. It's also true for the employees. They can also have a lot more time off, a lot more money and less time off, where things are running well without them too. And you become an adaptable, interchangeable system that is also set up to actually scale. So after I sold my music companies, like the morning after, I'm like, how do I bring this intelligence to the world? Like, what is the minimum effective things, the simplest stuff that's actually going to yield the most results? Because a lot of people, when they go down this rabbit hole of time management and efficiency and productivity, what I'm noticing is people get caught in these tips and tricks. They're getting caught in the Pomodoro method. They're getting caught in this time blocking thing. They're getting caught in like this latest app, and they're focusing on the 90%, which is driving 10% of the results, right? What is it called? Is it the Parabello principle? Like, what is the 80-20 rule? Like, what is the 20% of your customers that's driving 80% of your revenue? What's the 20% of your products and services that is actually driving that, right? Like, it's so how can we focus on the 90-10 rule? What is the 10% of time management principles that actually drives 90% of the success? So I'm going to run through this as much as possible. And a lot of people might have some of this done, but if you don't have a complete time management system, if it is not complete, you will consistently wonder if things are falling through the cracks. Then it will impact the rest of the system. For example, in the business race of life, you are this incredible Formula One race car driver. You've worked on your mind, you've worked on your body, you've worked on you, but you've been driving around the business racetrack in this shitty sedan. And if you don't get all of this handled, then maybe you're fixing one tire. Maybe you're fixing your third gear and you're able to drop it into fourth, but you don't have a fifth anymore. So when you get to actually take a pit stop and you recalibrate this entire system, which is so easy, a 12-year-old can learn it. It's reliable because it's leak proof, and it's flexible, meaning don't ever let anyone sell you into something that's actually already working for you. You don't need to replace it. You just don't. You keep what's working and you fill in the gaps what's there. So let's run through this. And at any given time, you can comment regarding the questions. And if I don't see it, I'll do a video later. But this is what these lives are for. Time management, I believe, is the most important thing that you can learn, because your time is this most precious asset on this earth. And if you think that marketing and sales are more important, well, what would it be like if I could free up half of your time to focus on marketing and sales? And if you do this once, you can do it once, and it frees up the time and mental energy forever to invest in what matters most. Like, what if you learned actually when you were younger to free up 500 to 1,000 hours per year and how you're running and controlling every area of your business and life? Let's dive in. So when I look into a basic system, these areas all must be covered because you are spending a lot of time every single day and week in them. And they are so easy to fix that the return on investment is something like you spend 30 to 60 minutes on it. It will normally free up 30 to 60 minutes a week minimum. Sometimes some of this is even like 30 to 60 minutes a day. The first thing that I look at, which when I go to screen people and businesses and things, I ask this question: what percentage of everything that you're doing with your scheduling, your project and task management, and the recurring nature of your business, how much are you managing in your head versus it being written out into a simple tool set? Most people are going to say 50% or more they're managing in their head, right? That is the first big opportunity that's there. You must be out of your head. You must make the decision and understand that your mind is meant to have ideas and not to hold them. And if you're running the business from the brain, the amount of time and mental energy that you're wasting is crazy. And if you took 30 to 60 minutes to actually go get that handled, like if you took like 30, 60 minutes to get handled, it will probably free up 30 to 60 minutes a day, which is about 300 hours per year. Literally, that is the big thing. The number two thing that I see is people are out of the head, right? But they got shit scattered all over the place. Like they have an SOP library that's crazy all over the place. And that's really due to the lack of having a business playbook. And I'll get into actually what that is. 100% of people who I've interviewed and things that are there who are just scattered and things don't run well without them. You got errors omission. You got people asking you the same fucking questions all the time. It's because they don't have a business playbook. That's what's happening. So one, you must make the decision immediately to say, I'm going to stop using my head and mind to remember and manage everything and like train everyone through osmosis and act like the human mind is actually a good tool at remembering things. You must choose to cease to stop that. You can learn that in 30 minutes. It'll free you up 30 minutes a day, which remember is a minimum of 150 hours per year, but it'll save your sanity. All right, let's go into this world. There's kind of two sets. One is the email as well as the rest of the inboxes were there. In your email, if you got a bunch of spam and newsletters hitting you, well, welcome to the world of your own insanity. Because did you know in probably under 5 to 10 minutes, you could actually enter your email address where it shows where everyone who's got your email address, who's sending you all that nonsense, and you eradicate it. Number two, are you using an email inbox as a place for your to-dos and your stuff to hold on to? That is a sign that you're wasting a ton of time because your email inbox is not a tool to be holding your projects and tasks. Those are the people who have hundreds to thousands to honestly tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of emails and using some read unread system. When in reality, what's happening there is they don't have a task management tool that they can trust for it to easily fly into. So, and with your inboxes, you probably have audible and visible notifications going off all day. You're incessantly wondering if things are falling through the cracks. You are checking them all day long, and you're just wondering if you ever missed something out of your 10 to 20 inboxes that you have to deal with. Those two things go hand in hand. Each one of those you could probably fix in 30 to 60 minutes to actually have a system and process for that. And that would probably free up a minimum of 30 to 60 minutes a day. I know my handwriting sucks, but I'm trying to do it, which would yield you like another, let's just go down. Oops, let me hit Control Z there. Which would yield easily, you know, you get your knot of the head, that's 150 hours. That'll free up easily another 150 hours a year and like, let alone your sanity. Okay, you got your internal team communication tools. Some people like are kind of okay with this, but if you're using email and you got someone sending you a text message later and you're triple checking if they got the message because you walked into their office, if you don't trust the system and process with your team and how you are sending messages, the amount of internal chaos that you are contributing there is just another like thing. Those are the information flows that you must get handled, and they're super fast. The reason why we focus on those first is because they immediate have a return on your time investment, and they are big wins that you can feel immediately, meaning you can get that handled in one day and probably start freeing up 1 to 2 hours per day, let alone the sanity that's happening with all the information that you need to manage. All right, take a breath, Brad. Let's go into the next world. Let me try to delete some of these things here. Okay. Now, in order for you to actually stay reasonably sane with everything, in order for you to not completely lose it when it comes to your time and your mental energy is you must have a full tool set as well. Let me get this guy a little bit bigger. You get to have a full tool set because you need a place for information to sit and reside that's super simple, that's reliable, and is flexible. And you need a place, you need a tool set in the same way that when you walk into a kitchen or a job site, you need a fork, you need a spoon, you need a knife, you need some pots and pans. If you start using a fork to do the spoon's job of trying to stir things or eat soup with it, yeah, it helps, but it just doesn't work. And you get to have a complete simple tool set, which is something for your scheduling, which is a calendar, which is what 9 out of 10 people understand. Then you get to have a tool for your task management tool, which is about what 50% of people have. But most of those people have a task management tool where they're starting to lose their shit when it comes to managing their Asana, their Trello, their Todoist, and anything else. But you must have that tool set up first. And the last part, which is what no one has, which I've seen, is a business playbook, which simply shows all the areas of your business and all the repetitive actions and how to do it in order to keep that thing sane. These two are the bigger elephants, the task management tool and the business playbook to get handled. What's nice about the business playbook handled, you get that handled once, you get the structured handled once, and it's relatively static, and it provides a huge return on investment, which is the key to your mental freedom and for people being away from the business and being able to work well without you. It also creates scalability. It's easy to do it. And the lucky bonus of that is if you're going to sell it one day, it means it's also the benefit that it's going to have a huge premium on the selling price, which is the same process that you use if you're going to be away from the business. So you're doing the same thing and it provides just multiple results that's there. So, and you must have a giant information place like your Google Drive or something like that where all that stuff's going to be stored. So you get to have a full tool set so that all that crazy information that you have can easily fly into that. Now you got all these crazy notes that are happening, right? So here's you, lovely little unhappy you. So you have all your notes, right, that are out of your head, and you have your probably 10 to 15 other inboxes, which have about 10 to 100 messages coming at you every single day. And you're just like, you're already at time capacity, you're already at mental capacity, and you turn those on and you're like, WTF. No wonder you're losing your shit, right? No wonder you're losing your shit. Well, if that's going to fly through you into your basic tool set, which is your calendar, your task tool, and your playbook. Most stuff, 90% plus, is going to drop in your task management tool. You must have a system and process for how you're making the decision of how that goes into you. That is where so much stress is actually happening. When you got this stuff flying at you all day long and making the decision on what does this even mean? How do I do it? Do I even have the bandwidth? Who's it going to? That it gets clogged. It gets clogged in your system. And because every decision you make takes a lot of mental energy, that's your exhaustion, that's your unhappiness, that's your overwhelm. You are the bottleneck. When you take 15 to 30 minutes to understand the process and the flow chart on how to get the things through you into the system, mainly the task management tool, the amount of freedom that you will start to feel because you've learned how to process those things in a simple manner, and you're taking those 300 to 1,000 messages a day, and they're actually going through you within 2 to 4 seconds compared to minutes and dragging down your time and mental energy. All of a sudden, that's where the freedom occurs. You become this master person who knows how to take all this crazy information, all this crazy stuff coming at you, all your notes, all your inboxes, all your internal team communication, and you're like, boom, it's through me, and now it's actually into the action system for action. That's what's there. Now, your final piece out of all of this, let me take all this madness here. And your final piece out of all of that is this. Let's see if I can actually paste it again. Yeah, I can. Boom. Is this. Now that you got your information flows handled, you learned how to get out of the head with all you got to do. You got all your email and all your other inboxes handled. You drummed up, you solved your team communication if you actually need that. And you set yourself up with a scheduling tool. And you set yourself up with a task management tool, which is where most of the information is going to fly to. And you set yourself up with a playbook. And you learn the mastery of the processing of these notes and all these crazy inboxes into this guy. So it flows through you within seconds. You must understand that the solution to your freedom with your time and overwhelm is the best practices and routines that keeps the entire system together. Your solution is not technological. It's not the latest app. It's not the latest tool. It's not the latest ChatGPT. It's not. The tools help. If you do not have a tool for these things to go into, it definitely helps you a lot. Your savior is the understanding that the system is behavioral. It is your habits. It is knowing what to do right here. It is the best practices and the agreements that keep you and the team sane, and the routines of knowing what to do in the morning, end of day, once a week, once a month, and once a quarter that keep this entire system together. And we could understand that it runs that. And then all of a sudden, no scheduling falls through the cracks. No task management stuff falls through the cracks, even though this has got an abundance of information. No, let me change that to you. I should have had that view changed. No repetitive job duties like fall through the task that's there. But in addition to your tasks and then the projects, then all of a sudden you can cover every area of life and business, like all of the roles. And you get into higher level things like your goals, your visions, and your purpose. And when you understand that there's a very simple, static way to handle all of this so that nothing falls through the cracks, you all of a sudden have a leak-proof system. And these are the usual returns on investment that happen with it. This is why people pay good money for this, because it's not about what it costs. It's about the return on investment. The return on investment really looks like this. Normally for your money, it's a minimum of 300%. Meaning if you spend 10K once, it will yield at least, let's say 30 to 40K on the bottom line forever. With your employee costs, it will save at least 25% of the employee costs. But here's what's crazy. Because you just went to go free up 25% of their time, all of a sudden they have another 25% of their time to reinvest in what matters. And unless you're a dumbass business owner and you're paying someone $20 to generate $20 in value, which you're not, that 25% of their time is actually reinvested into things that are actually creating value. So you at least have another 25% of their value going into value-oriented activities, which then ends up yielding about, let's say, a 50 to 75% actual employee cost savings if you're going to put it all in terms of cost savings. Like, it'll drive higher revenue, but if you're actually going to put it on one number line, that's why that number comes much bigger. The ROI when it comes to your time is normally a minimum of 1,000%, meaning if you spend 10 hours once, it will yield at least 100 hours free time forever. It's normally much bigger than that. Normally the ROI looks like this. Normally if you spend about 20 hours on this, 10 to 20 hours, you'll yield a minimum 25% in total savings of 500 hours per year. Think about that. That means you do that once, you all of a sudden forever learn to free up 500 hours per year. And let's also talk about the ROI of who you are as a person. Going from this to actually this. Going from overwhelm to actually sanity, to trust, confidence, and peace of mind that nothing actually falls through the cracks. The return on investment is insane. That's how it actually works. So when it comes to back the minimum effective dose, let me get all that back down here, is this. What is the 90-10 rule? What can you go focus on in the next 2 weeks to go learn how to free up 25 to 50% of your time, as well as your sanity, and getting everything together? And either any one of these things can be plug and played in. so that you're actually doing it. Then once you get these things into place, then you can start working with other things where you're looking to accelerate once you're back on the racetrack of business. Like now that you have a Formula One race car, now you can go learn what Pomodoro is. Now you can go do the time blocking shit. Now you can go use like this other little app and tool and tip and trick to do it. But you first get to get your structure handled so that you get a badass car, and then you can go back out there and start tweaking things. This is the 10% that's driving the 90% of the time and mental energy savings. And if you want a free review on it and how you're doing it with you and your team, we can run it in under 15 to 20 minutes. I can show you everything that's working or what's not working and any possible solutions that might be there. All you need to do is ask. So once you remember this one thing, that your time on this earth is your most precious asset, that you are here to work, to live. Absolutely. And while you're working, it gets to be sane and trusting with your people. You're not here to work 50 hours a week for 2 weeks off, especially if you have a business. That's total bullshit. Total bullshit. You are here to have as much time off to do what you love with the people that you love, whether it's vacation, to be there when people are sick, to actually go be there with friends, to have a day off for your health, to go do that. You and your team, everyone gets to have that. Your time's your most precious asset. And not only is it about your time, it's also about your presence. So when you have this time off, you can actually go be present with yourself, your wife, your kids, your loved one, your friends, the doctor, and you trust and you know that nothing's going to fall through the cracks. That's where the value of this comes in. You do it once and it saves you forever. So, boom. At any given time, you're more than welcome to drop any comments if you've seen this, and I'll follow up with answers later. Hope this brings value.